had Paul Castellano take over. His right hand crawler, Neil de la Croce, got pushed aside, right? So very Sicilian, had my brother-in-law take over, family thing, that kind of stuff, right? Let me pause a second. And evidently, the part of the reason Neil obviously supported it, the boss is the boss is the boss. However, according to this particular journalist or podcaster or YouTuber, if you want to call him, said that part of the reason of the rift not just was because of change of control, it's just that they literally said no more drug dealing, which caused an issue with Gotti and the ranks. I don't buy that that was the main reason, but that was just what they offer. So Toto Riina developed a relationship directly with Castellano, and I kind of figured that, but he had a direct relationship with Castellano. He obviously had a relationship with John Gambino, Toto Riina. And then on top of it, what's interesting is Toto Riina did not have any relatives here in the U.S. Very common for a mafiosi to have a relationship or relatives here in the U.S. and vice versa, obviously. And it makes it a little easier, makes you a little more powerful, has you different relationships if you have to go on the run, the lam, that kind of stuff. So Toto Riina, essentially, his guy in the U.S. was Constantino Paul Castellano, who was Sicilian himself, a Sicilian heritage, and that was essentially his guy.
Che facevano parte della mafia oltreoceano. E per questo motivo avere un suo amico a capo di una delle 5 famiglie mafiose più.
So, not just a matter of having a relationship with Castellano. You now have a guy who's ahead of the 5 families, right? So now you're the most powerful mafioso in all of Cosa Nostra, all Sicily. Then you add in, you got the Gambino guy in the hook in the U.S. Obviously, he had Camorra relationships and Dragata relationships. So pretty much he was power hungry. And in terms of power, I'd put him up there with Pablo Escobar. I might get some pushback on that. The guy killed 2 federal magistrates, killed over 300 people. So the guy was a maniac, but he also was a very important mobster as well. So his goal was and motive was to keep the relationship with Paul Castellano going, because that was his guy in New York.
Importanti in America, non poteva fare altro che rafforzare il suo prestigio in Cosa Nostra.
And for over there too, although obviously it didn't hurt to have Sicilian relationships when you're here with Cosa Nostra. It didn't hurt to have pretty high-level, high-ranking relationships in the United States. Remember, Cosa Nostra at that point, the Gambino family alone in the mid-'80s was making $500 million a year in aggregate. It was said that if it was listed as a company, they would be in the Fortune 500.
Paul Castellano, come divenne capo della famiglia, bandì la droga dagli affari della famiglia.
Yeah, so his edict was to ban drugs right away, Paul Castellano.
E questa sua decisione non la prese bene Agnello della Croce.
Like I said, his spin is Neil de la Croce was unhappy, not only not getting the top spot, but with that official ban.
Che con la droga faceva affari d'oro. La famiglia si divise in 2 e John Gotti si schierò.
And we know there was a rift in the family between Neil's kind of faction and then obviously the people that were loyal to Carlo Gambino and then Castellano. So it was a point where John Gotti obviously waited for Neil de la Croce to die. And then once he passed, then he made a move on Gotti.
Yep.
But obviously in Sicily, as I'd learned that from my predecessor, talked about stand on ceremony. Toto Riina stand on ceremony. So the fact that let me move this back. The fact that he killed the boss without commission approval had Sicily pretty pissed off as well.
Salvatore Riina prese il comando di Cosa Nostra.
All right, so when he started taking over, and he just literally just cleaned house.
E stava eliminando
Toto Riina in Sicily.
tutti I suoi avversari. Prima toccò a Stefano Bondante.
All right, so one critical kill initially was Stefano Bondante, was head of the Mandamente, I believe, and it was in Palermo. And this was a very, very big hit at the time, taking out another boss and started to set the stage and started to tip the war in favor of the Corleonesi.
E poi a Salvatore Inzerilli.
All right, so this is really important as well to this story and overall U.S. and Sicilian Cosa Nostra. Then he killed Salvatore Inzarello. The reason why that was important was he was a head boss in Palermo. And again, Italy operates a lot differently. If you're a rival, they don't just kill you. They'll kill your family, whether they're in the life or not. It doesn't matter. And that's one of the tenets that they always kind of operated by. And killing Inzarello was a big deal, just like Montante. So watch what happened next.
Gli Inzerillo erano imparentati proprio con la famiglia dei Gambino e per questo molti di loro scapparono in America.
All right. So then they just had a jet. They were losing. They were getting crushed. So it's kind of either kind of stay in Sicily or die. So those people, those mafioso, went over to America, and they are known as gli scarpati, which means the runaways. Now, they were brought into the fold of the Gambino family. Why is that? As we discussed earlier, Carlo Gambino had relations with the Inzarellos, familiar relations, obviously, but also mafia relations. John Gambino, mafia relations with the Inzarello clan. So when they came over here, it made sense for them to fold into the Gambino family.
Paul Castellano e Salvatore Riina fecero un accordo.
All right, so that's where it's interesting is, and I might debate this one a little bit. He's saying that Salvatore Riina and Paul Castellano had a deal. He goes, hey, listen, these guys are on our side now, meaning in America. They're not going to come back. They promise not to come back. Please do not kill them. In exchange, they can live harmoniously. We'll get them out of your hair. We'll keep them under the protection of the Gambino family here. If they set back foot on your territory, kill them, but we'll keep them here. What I personally think, I think John Gambino brokered that deal, and then Paul Castellano rubber stamped it. That's just my opinion, but either way, that accord or that deal was made.
Toto Riina avrebbe risparmiato gli Inzerillo che si erano rifugiati in America. In cambio, in America i Gambino dovevano eliminare Pietro e Antonino.
All right, so Riina said, fine, but I have two more that I need from you. Pietro Inzarello, who was killed in Brooklyn, and Antonino Inzarello, who was actually found in a trunk in New Jersey. So evidently, as a favor and out of respect for Toto Riina, those two guys were eliminated. There's kind of mobologists watching this. Drop your comments below. There's some debate as to why Antonino was killed. Allegedly, one was because he was made on both sides. There's a few different kind of stories here or there, but this one seems pretty valid that they were eliminated because Toto Riina said, hey, you know what? You guys want to go to America? That's fine. That's fine. However, I need these two guys taken care of, and Paul Castellano gladly obliged, which I believe fortified the relationship between the two borgatas.
Che erano il fratello e lo zio di Salvatore.
And they were specifically the brother and the uncle of Salvatore Inzarello, who I explained earlier was a prominent mob boss who was murdered by the Corleonesi.
Così avvenne. Antonino Inzerillo rimase vittima della lupara bianca.
They call it the what is it? The white wolf, the white shotgun. And that's one of the ways that they killed him. It's the way the Sicilians like to kill. That's how Antonino was killed.
Si nascondeva a Brooklyn, mentre Pietro Inzerillo venne ritrovato morto in un bagagliaio di un'auto nel New Jersey. Il 2 dicembre del
actually near, I believe, Cherry Hill, and I believe he gave the order for the Cherry Hill Gambino crew to handle it. They were out of 18th Avenue at the time, but they also lived in Cherry Hill. And again, either way, kind of the boss is the boss. Castellano would either have to approve it or broker the deal and then approve it. Either way, it did require his stamp no matter what.
Nel 1985 Agnello della Croce morì a causa di un tumore alla gola. John Gotti divenne il capo della fazione che si...
All right, so obviously when we know this already, when when Agnello della Croce died, that gave the opening for John Gotti to act.
Si contrapponeva a Paul Castellano. Con la morte di Agnello della Croce, John Gotti ha una sorta di via libera e quindi può eliminare Paul Castellano. Infatti non c'era più nessuno che poteva fermarlo. Il 14 dicembre del 1985 Paul Castellano venne ucciso insieme al suo autista, Tommy Bigliotti, mentre si trovava davanti a un ristorante della 40ª strada di Manhattan. John Gotti eliminò Paul Castellano senza il permesso
del... Just talking about the Castellano hit. And again, did it without the permission of the commission, which, as we know, was a cavalier move, which resulted in the bombing in the Chin getting bombed. I always kind of wondered, Chin probably did it autonomously, but I do kind of wonder if this is Sainz ever involved with that.
Do not buy solar panels if you live in one of these 11 states of America. It's the worst decision you can.
Sorry. When you do these live, you run into commercials.
E soprattutto con un alleato in meno negli USA. Come reagì a questo Salvatore Riina ce lo racconta il collaboratore di giustizia Rosario Naimo.
Okay, so introduce Rosario Naimo. So